What's up, everyone? Brandyn Pokrass of the League Winners here once again with FAU running back Kaden Shields-Dutton. Kaden, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So to start this one off, our second interview together. Last year was your first year with the FAU Owls. What would be your reflections on the 2024 season, and how would you evaluate your season?
I came from a high school where we won. Every we were. I think I lost one regular season game with that school ever. So it was rough. I think the part that I probably struggled with the most was like honestly the willingness to want to keep going. But I think that comes from mental toughness, just being able the outcome isn't always what you want it to be, but you can't give up on your team, and you can't call it quits. After your fifth loss or whatever the case may be, you got to be able to keep going and finish the season. And that's one thing we talked about in the running back room is that there's like we're not stopping. Like it didn't matter, and I think that shows on the field. Truthfully, if you look at it, I feel like the running backs continue to play at a high level throughout the rest of the season, no matter what the outcome was. But obviously that's not the outcome that we wish for, and that's not the outcome that anybody wants. So it was just rough, but it was a different experience. I think it was a humbling experience, if anything, because I think you talk about greats, and a lot of thing that greats tend to say is that I hate losing more than I like winning. So I think getting to that point where you look at our record and you say, that's nowhere near where we wanted it to be. That feeling, you have to remember that feeling and never want to feel it again. So you're willing to put the work in every day, every night, whether if that's the food you eat or how many hours of sleep you're getting, or how often you're training, whatever it is, finding what you have to do to never feel that again. So that's where I stand with last year.
And then last part on last year, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what was the biggest lesson you learned? And then on a positive note, what was your favorite memory of last season?
um I want to say the biggest lesson I probably learned from last season, honestly, is just how the season works itself. I don't say, being a freshman, and I traveled almost every game. The only games I didn't travel were, I think, two or three of them, and that was because of injury. So as a freshman who traveled and played and started special teams, I think it was just how everything worked, how everything the schedules worked, and making sure I'm at this room in the hotel at the right time, and just learning how to be diligent with my time. Whether that's managing homework while we're on the road and getting stuff done, so my grades stay up, making sure I'm not up till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning when I have a game the next day. It's just really it gives you and shows another level of responsibility to be able to take care of yourself and get the stuff done, and it really shows how important where your priorities are, because at the end of the day, you show up and you're not prepared, it's going to reflect on the field. And then I'll say my best memory from last year is probably going to be I'm gonna say Tulsa game. Um, I didn't do a lot in that game. I think I had 8 carries, like 40 some yards. But it wasn't necessarily the carries or me running the ball. It was the performance of the running backs that I like. Like that was enjoyable for me. Seeing Xavier Zaytorel, he had I think 2 carries, 140 something yards and 2 touchdowns. Like that was crazy to see. And he broke the record for the longest touchdown in school history. So that was something. And looking back at it and talking to Coach Perkins, the running back coach, you know, um, I think we were like 25 yards short of breaking the school's most rushing yards in a game or something like that. And we were like, man, we were right there. Like, but it was fun to see everybody's reaction. Like you had CJ breaking on a long screen, Zay was doing his thing, Sands was doing his thing. Like it was just good to see everybody having fun, like really enjoying football.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch to say that your guys' position group was the backbone of that offense and that the real focal point of what the FAU offense became down the stretch. But looking toward 2025, you guys just started spring ball. What are you most excited about when it comes to the team? basically in regards to 2025?
I'm excited for this new offense, honestly. I mean, I think, I've learned it, pretty well. We talked about how, like, our couple of installs are, pretty hefty on, what's going on. But, it's a lot of different things, it's a lot of different looks, like, but I never thought about it. But that's what comes with having, possibly a younger head coach. Like, he might seem a little bit more creative with what he's doing. Like, he's definitely trying to mix it up, show different looks. I'm running plays that, I wasn't expecting. Like, it's fun though. Like, I think the ability to stretch the ball and get the ball to different people is gonna be what's like what's going to show. And I think that's what's going to be really fun about this offense is that, everybody's getting involved. I've seen tight ends do crazy things in this offense, and I'm sitting here like, I never thought I would have ever seen someone call a play for that to happen. But, Coach Kittley makes it happen. So, that's what I'm looking forward to, just the creativity, with Coach Kittley, and then just being able to see everybody get the ball and do their own thing.
You touched on how excited you are to play in said scheme. So I guess I will follow up with that with what do you feel you bring to said offensive scheme?
Um, in last year's offense, we didn't really have like a power set or like a power type play. So, that's something that Coach Kelly's kind of brought in, and I kind of like. I'm like, oh yeah, like, that's something I could get down with, because yeah, I mean, people, obviously I'm a bigger back, like, I'm the biggest back we have, but like, it catches people off guard too, that I'm not just what I look like. But I mean, I'll be a stereotypical power back if I have to. Yes, I love power. Like, yes, I like running downhill. I get the opportunity to run somebody over, I'm probably gonna take it 9 times out of 10. But that's what it is. Just him bringing different stuff.
When it comes to the overall roster, what is the feel around the team been? You guys are just starting up spring practices, but you guys have had lifts. You guys have had some time to mesh together. What's the feel around the FAU Owls been?
There's just a lot more camaraderie. Like, you could definitely tell a difference. Like, you can feel a difference. People are walking around smiling, like, you seem happy. And it's a different type of feel. There were moments before where we come back from a workout, and we're dead and everybody's kind of moping around. But now it's different, right? And that doesn't mean we're putting in any less of work. It just means that we're having fun and we're enjoying doing it. But that's coming from our strength staff, and Coach Kelly is the one thing they keep saying is have fun. Like, this isn't, at the end of the day, this is still a game. Like, don't get it twisted. Yes, people make money from it. People, set their lives up and stuff like that around it, but it's still a game. So, one thing they keep preaching is have fun. Like, we're gonna work hard. Trust, we're gonna put in a lot of work, but we're going to have fun while doing it. So I think that's probably been the biggest difference, along with just the motivation from the strength staff. They continually motivate us. You know, I always say you have different styles of coaching and how you try and bring the best out of a kid. You have some coaches who, they rip at you and rip at you to see if, that helps bring something else out of you. Or you have coaches who, they sit there and they won't rip at you. They're going to tell you when you're wrong and when you can do better, but they're going to help, encourage you and bring you along, to help, develop you and help get you better. So, that's something different that's been around. These coaches are a lot more like, your teammates will help have your back. We'll have your back. Like, we're here for you. Like, we're going to do anything we can to help you. Like, they're just really big on building each other up and, that camaraderie as well.
Yeah, some of your other teammates have spoken about that. It really sounds like you guys are in a great spot in terms of that team chemistry heading into the spring practices and heading toward the spring game. But shifting back to you, a bit of a two-parter. The first part, what did you work on the most this offseason? Doesn't just have to be as a running back, maybe in the receiving game, maybe special teams, maybe combination of everything. And then the second part is, what are you mainly looking to showcase as a player in 2025?
So I think it's two things really that I worked on the most. Well, really three things. So I say, the first part that me and Coach Perkins talked about was, outside of, you know, just the basic with footwork and stuff like that was mobility. Like, that's something that me and him hit on a lot was, I need to become more mobile, make sure I'm stretching hips, hamstrings, whatever it is to help, open me up a little bit more. And then I'd say probably two, picking my feet up. That's something that like, I didn't really show having a problem with, due to like limited carries, but I realized that personally that was something, looking back at film, I'm like, yeah, I could have had a longer run in practice if I would have just, picked my feet up right here. I'm tripping over a guard's foot going through the hole. Like that's unacceptable. And then as well, just learning how to open up, right? Like, I always say like I'm sneaky fast. Like I don't like, a lot of people look and I'm like, oh, like he's not running that fast. But like, a lot of people don't know, like, I was right there close to 21 miles an hour last year, but people would never know that based off of looking at me. So that's one thing I've been trying to work on as well. Is like getting to that spot where it's like go, like turn it on, go. Sometimes you have to forget, looking at a man who's next to me on my right and, someone who's coming up from me on my left, it's just split them, run, like take off, forget everybody else and just run. So, that was something. And so that would probably be one of the biggest things that I'm trying to show. But one of the other things I guess I'm trying to show is leading to this next season is that I'm more agile than people think. I look back at, how I was in high school and, one year I was trying to juke and jump cut around everything. And then the next year I was trying to run through everybody. So, one thing I've tried to learn is that good mix of both, learning when you have to lower your shoulder on somebody and then knowing when, this is the last guy to beat before it's me and a bunch of green grass. There's no need for me to try and run you over. Let me make you miss, not trying to slow my momentum down and then just burst and keep going. So, that's one thing. I'm just trying to show everybody that like, I'm not just a power back. That's not who I am. Like, yes, I tell people all the time, I can run people over and I will run people over, but that's not who I am. I'm gonna tell people all the time, I'm an all-purpose back. I'm not a power back. I'm an all-purpose back. I could do it all.
Yeah, it really sounds like you're taking that foundation that you established last year and really building off it and really focusing on, hey, I already displayed the power aspect. How do I show the rest of the aspects of my game? And that ties into my next question, to you, because I was going to ask, how are you approaching being a dual threat running back in the passing and running games? And it's not just on the field, also goes to a mentality. Like, how are you approaching it mentally, differently as opposed to maybe how you were last year?
It's crazy, right? Talking to like my parents, even, I talk to my dad, and he says he can hear more confidence from me. Like he says he said I sound like I'm more confident. He related it back to how I was in youth football and throughout high school, because I'd say those were probably like the most, like you talked to me, I sounded like I was for sure, like I knew what I was doing. I knew, what I could do. And I think last year I kind of took almost like I kind of want to say like a backseat role. Like I felt like I was still trying to like, understand how the college football world works. And, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I just took that year and, took that time to learn. So, I think it's just knowing that, you don't have forever. Like, you know, I burned a year of eligibility last year playing special teams, which isn't a bad thing, but it was just to, get my feet wet, see how the pace of the game feels a little bit, get hit, have to get up off the ground a little bit, feel what that feels like to get hit by someone who's possibly 4 or 5 years older than me. Like, that's a different thing. But I think my mentality this year hasn't changed much, but I think it's become more apparent. I think last year my mentality was more hidden and I kind of was internalizing it. And, the only person who knew what my mentality was me. But, I started to make it more vocal. I've told multiple people on the coaching staff, I've told the strength staff, I've told the players, I've told everybody, I'm coming to play. Like, this isn't, and matter of fact, forget that. I'm not coming to play, I'm coming to start. That's what I've been telling them. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Like I said, obviously everybody wants to play, right? I said, yeah. I said, no one's trying to come to college and sit on the bench for, 4 years. Like no one's trying to do that. But I said, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to play. And I said, If I do all of that, I said, if you ask me to get down to 215, weight, if you tell me I need you to stretch more, if you tell me I need you to condition more, you tell me you need me to jump or whatever the case may be, you tell me do it, I'm going to do it and more, so that there's no excuse when the season comes and I'm performing the way that I need to, that there's no reason I shouldn't be seeing the field, a lot.
Yeah, and that's the best mentality you can have. It's very easy to say I want to play, but how are you putting that into action? What are you doing and how are you approaching it mentally? Sounds like you're doing a great job with that. And the last question I have for you, when it comes to the team and when it comes to yourself, what are your goals for the 2025 season? This can be stats, this can be other achievements, this can be obscure stats. What do you want to accomplish as a team with FAU and for yourself?
So, as a team, I mean, yeah, I could just say win games. I mean, that's easy to say. But I think my biggest thing is I've always been a person, I like to dominate. Like, I want to beat people, yes, of course, but I want to dominate. Like, I want to physically see somebody else, like, quitting on the sideline. I want them to not even want to come back in. Like, that's been who I am. And, obviously the goal is to get to a conference championship. Nowadays in college football, you see it happening more than ever. A team goes 1 year from, having 2 wins to having 10 wins. Like, that's not an impossible thing to say. So that's definitely something I feel like as a team, that's what I look for. But I feel like as a team, we should all be striving for that. Like, I feel like that should be the goal. No one should be sitting there saying like, well, we came from this many wins last year. Like, that's not, it's kind of crazy to say. It's really not. You look at people who did it, it's not crazy to say at all. And, I definitely feel like it's achievable. We all just have to stay focused and, like I said, do everything that you can to get there. Don't sit there and say you want to do it and then not do what it takes to get there, because the only person you're trying to fool is yourself. If you're going to say it, be about it. Like, let's do it. And then for myself this season, I'd probably say score my first touchdown first and foremost. I think it's probably the biggest thing that I wish I would have did last year. I watched film so many times on the carries that I did get. I was like, man, maybe if I would have just stayed a little bit lower, if I would have made this one move instead of going there, I probably could have had that touchdown. So, that was one thing that I focused on. And then, just taking it game by game, honestly. I mean, I feel like, I'm not even going to get too much ahead of myself because, that's not something I want to do. I just want to take it game by game, take whatever opportunities come and just, take advantage of them, make the most of those opportunities and, don't leave them on the table. That's something Coach Kittley has recently talked about, when you get an opportunity, take it. Don't leave it on the table, because at that point you're leaving money on the table. So, you get it, take it.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up our interview. Kaden, before we get out of here, where can everyone find you on social media?
So for Twitter and for Instagram, my handle is K28SD. So yeah, as it says, K28SD.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Kaden, for joining me. This has been another great interview for the League Winners channel. Make sure to check us out, and we'll catch you next time.